This show is sponsored by Sevi, answering all your commercial real estate needs. Sevi is the first commercial real estate company committed to the 4 C's: commercial real estate, community, content, and culture. Go visit Sevi at Sevi, SEVI, properties.com. Again, SeviProperties.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you. We have Panos Kostopoulos, and I'm probably butchering the name. I apologize. He's the founder and CEO of Proxy Food. Welcome to the show, Panos.
Thank you very much for having me, Otto. And you did a great job with the first name. The last name, there are some room for improvement. Not
So
not
that's
great, not
so
terrible.
for the last name, how is it the correct way, please?
Stopoulos.
Kostopoulos.
Yes, that's A plus now.
Kostopoulos. There you go. Okay, see, I improved there.
Use one shot. Like you needed only one one try, and we got
Yeah,
it.
there you go. So sorry about that earlier, Panos, but welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me.
I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. So for those who may not know and are not familiar with Proxy Food, if you can give us an explanation, what do you folks do there, please?
Of course. So we offer and we are building an AI platform that helps food and beverage companies to create better recipes faster, better products. So we focus on the R&D. How do you create the next better for you, better for the environment, maybe lower cost food and beverage product? This can be a cocktail, a mocktail, a cookie, a snack, any kind of product. So we help food and beverage companies create better foods for all of us.
So if I'm a food company and like you just mentioned snacks, let's say I'm in the yogurt space, right? I do yogurts, Greek yogurt. There you go. I do Greek yogurt and I want to improve the recipe. I guess as a Greek yogurt company, let's say oh, hold on. Chobani. Chobani is a big one, I think. Yeah. So I'm Chobani and I come and I say, hey Panos, how can we improve our flavors, our blueberry flavor, orange? What is that how it would work?
So the two main activities companies and food product developers and chefs do are
Mhm.
create new products or optimize existing ones. So let's take the first example. So this can be your maybe a chef for a food service company, like a restaurant, a fine dining, or you're for a huge CPG. First, you get the information of what you want to create, usually based on consumer trends, intel, sales, and marketing intel. You end up with a product strategy. This product strategy ends up in what we call product brief. This has all the specifications of what you want to create, any attributes. So when you know that, you can ask the platform, and you can be very specific, or you can be very broad. You can say, I want a novel cookie that have never been made before, or you can be, I want to create this snack that will have this specific nutritional value, no trans fats, will use this processing, this equipment, will not reach this temperature, will be with for this region. So you also have the regulatory compliance, will contain this number of ingredients, will have this flavor and this taste. So the platform allows you to be very broad, maybe explore some ideas. In general, these AI tools are great for us brainstorming partner and is are great to take you from zero maybe to 70, 80%, sometimes higher depending on the product. And
Hmm.
then you do through the feedback loop, the optimization to get to the 95%, 99% of where you want to get. So for the new product, maybe you innovate, maybe you know what you want to create, you give the constraints, the targets and the constraints, the specifications of the formula, of the recipe, of the product, and then the platform will provide you with suggestions on the recipe itself. What ingredients are you going to use? How much? And what are you going to do with them? How are you going to process them? Are you going to cut them? Are you going to boil them? Are you going to freeze dry them? What are you going to do? Whatever is that. So we have modeled more than 350 processes with the most critical variables and parameters. So for example, when we talk about baking, time and temperature, and humidity are critical, also the orientation. So considering thinking different processes, we have all the variables. So the platform will provide you with ingredients, their weights, and the processing with all the machinery and the equipment, and will also provide you with some analytics. What will be its nutritional value? What will be its flavor profile? What will be its regulatory compliance? Can you ask for any claims? Do you need to have to mention any allergens? How will be the label? What will be its texture and other organoleptic properties, other properties that create the food as it is?
So it does this automatically, just starts giving you all, spitting all this data, providing it to you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can ask it, will give you everything. So you can have, and this is the first time in humanity, you can have from an idea a ready to commercialize product, and you usually can be on benchtop, but you can also scale up to pilot or industrial facilities, and you can have all the information before you even tried it. So maybe now you saw that this formula has too much sodium, or it's too bitter, or it's too sweet, whatever is the attribute that you want to change, and you can do iteration digitally. You do enough iterations digitally when you end up with a formula that you like or it seems promising, then you try it. Now, when you try it, you give feedback. The feedback is critical in any AI solution. Data is the backbone of any AI. The feedback is our way to communicate data back into the system. So you try it, and maybe it wasn't as firm as you want it. So now
Hmm.
the algorithm will take this as a feedback. The words will convert into a specific attribute. So for us in our platform, we had to create our own vocabulary. We had to create our own language. Why? Because this language is critical for researchers to communicate with each other, and also for researchers, food product developers, and scientists to communicate with the platform. The platform, we have a perception, and maybe it's biased, of what sweet is, but you had to standardize that in the platform's language. So now we have the opportunity to do a lot of that digitally, give feedback, the platform adapts. It can also remember and correlate all the attributes of all the formulas you have created. So that will maybe unlock patterns that you wouldn't think of. And we know
Hmm.
as humans, we are great, but we have our own limitations. But when you have a system that can remember thousands of formulas, millions, then it can be more creative. And this is something people think AI will not be creative. No, I think that eventually it will be even more creative. Why? Because it will identify patterns and connections between areas you wouldn't think of. Why? Because you can have too many formulas, you're gonna find hidden patterns. And this is not only for food. This will happen um, in many cases where we see AI.
Yeah. I can't wait to go into Panos, how you even think about this. How did this all even started? But before that, personally, are you around from the DC, Maryland, Northern Virginia area?
Yes. Well, now people will say, "What? Yes, my name is Greek. I speak with an accent, and it doesn't look." But I was born and raised in Athens, Greece. But I moved to DC 3.5 years ago. January 6th of 2022. It was when I moved. So now I'm a proud and local resident of the DMV area. I actually live very close to the Capital One Arena. Um, and I'm very happy to be a citizen of this team.
Oh, nice. So you grew up in, I mean, you went to school, you grew up, childhood, everything was in Athens, Greece, right?
So I grew up in Athens, Greece. School there. I grew up there, next to the water. Spent a lot of time in the water. I studied chemical engineering. I actually knew since 12 years old that they took us into the National Technical University of Athens in the elementary school just to see. And
Hmm.
I was like, I knew that I'm going to become an engineer. So fast forward 6 years later, 18, I get into the chemical engineering school of the National Technical University of Athens. I do undergrad and grad studies there. Um, and then I moved for grad studies to Georgetown University, where I studied biotechnology with focus on food at the biomedical school of Georgetown University.
Panos, what was it at 12 years old in that field trip in school that made you realize at that young age that I wanted to become a chemical engineer?
I'll be honest, I wanted to become an engineer. Back then, I didn't know what chemical engineer means.
Okay, okay.
I want to become an engineer. How did I know that? First, I was very good in breaking things. So when you break things, then you can see how they work sometimes. You see the internal system. So this was always something that intrigued me, how systems work, why this remote control is how it is, where do the batteries go, what will happen if I remove them. So since a very young age, I would do homemade construction. I would take uh, DC motors. I would take them out. I would create a propel. I would put it something to float, and I would create my first RC boat very, very young. And I was
Oh,
like, okay,
wow.
this is very cool.
Yeah.
I ended up having a motorcycle, a very small motorcycle, very in a small age. So I don't know, 8 years old, I knew how to change filter injection and what a piston was. And I spend a lot of time with internal combustion engines. So then I'm going to the school and I see all these magic things or all these people were doing, huge devices, huge engines, like very cool output. And back in the day, it opened my eyes and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And actually, it didn't change. Like it remained like that for many, many years.
But back then at 8, when you were working on your scooter or your bike and doing things to it, was this YouTube or you just on yourself just tinkering, doing things and figuring things out on your own?
Well, I spent a lot of time by myself doing these things. I also had a brother 4 years older that could help me with some things sometimes.
Okay.
My father as well. Not so much with the motorcycle, as you can understand. They didn't love the idea that I had a motorcycle that young. It was for actually for motocross, like a Honda QR 80cc, a red one. But I
Would
was
you
in love with
race?
it. Me, no, but my
Oh,
cousin actually was racing and he was like a champion and all this stuff. And this was his
okay.
old motorcycle and ended up somehow to me. And, I fall in love with it.
So in your free time as a child, instead of maybe kids in Athens maybe playing football, soccer, or something else, you were playing around and creating things and doing other things, working with your hands. Or
Yes, yes, a lot of things. And not only fixing, mostly breaking things. Some of the things we would fix them eventually, but back in the day, it's always much easier to disassemble than assemble, and especially
sure.
without losing any parts. But I spent a lot of time with many various engineering activities. I was also playing soccer, football, how we called it.
Hmm.
But I already knew that I didn't want to become a soccer player, and I wanted to become an engineer. So, big part of my focus was to try to understand how systems work. From my bicycle, my motorcycle, the cars, I was airplanes, everything that was moving in an exciting way was a big interest to me.
Once you finish your undergraduate degree in Athens in chemical engineering, did you know, hey, I'm going to pursue a master's or a graduate school and I want to go to America? Or how did that happen?
Actually, no, I wasn't. I was always considering about it, but I wasn't sure. So, a little bit about the story. I'm a chemical engineer. I work in various industries. I was member also from a Formula student team as a chemical engineer. I was creating fuels, their fuel tank, the engine, the settings, and all of that. I was working for the medical and the dental industry and many other fields. And at some point, I realized the importance food has in our lives. Uh, this started living with a dog that we had adopted, and that really shaped my perspective that, we all eat. We're all comprised of food molecules. We're all end up as foods. And what am I going to eat is the most universally frequently asked question. Greeks, Americans, dogs, cats, fungi, bacteria, everybody, everything. going through this food chain. So you see that this food chain is not just, okay, I want to look good or be healthy, is a part of the flow of matter throughout our universe, through living beings that somehow they interact and we eat each other. So that plus the importance that food played in our health,
Hmm.
you know, eat your food as medicine, otherwise you're gonna eat your medicine as food, and the importance that this had on our ethics, how we're dealing with other environments, how we're dealing with our planet, how we're dealing with other civilizations, was such a critical component. And the food system is the most evolved, extended system of humanity. We don't have any other system, nothing that connects so much, so many dots all over the planet. We can have a product that has parts of land from everywhere, and they have companies that we all understand. And food, it's a great way through our biological evolution, has almost something mystical that connects people. Food connects everyone, and when we're hungry, everybody can enjoy a very good meal. So nothing. Then I realized that I wanted to help with something I felt didn't have enough of, I don't know, that we could do better, or
Hmm.
this is the area that I wanted to help. And I was like, okay, what can I do to help as a chemical engineer? And biotechnology, because my first grad studies in Athens I did was in biotech, and then I did more biotech, was biotechnology, the bridge between chemical engineering and food, and better understand the technology of living beings, the technology of bio. Um, so I started focusing on food, starting biotechnology to understand how systems work. I wanted to better understand what happens, how food is made from soil to fork to the bathroom. The whole process.
Hmm.
What's the whole route from the crop production to the distribution to the formulation to the digestion to the anabolic metabolic process, all of that. Um, I started working for the industry as an R&D scientist, biotech and food for some years. And then I wanted to maximize the chances of having a positive impact on the planet. And Greece is a beautiful place, and it gives a lot of opportunities. But realistically, I would have lower chances doing what I'm doing in Greece than in doing in the US. So I was trying to say, okay, Greece is not the optimal way. How do we optimize that? And I got Google Earth, and I was spinning the whole Earth to see what are the the best possible places I could go. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna explore everything. And at the point, 2020, 2019, that I took the decision, biotech in the US and the current status of the US seemed the best, and DC specifically the best possible place in the world to be. And the most important decision you can make about your life is where you're going to live. So that's how I moved to the US. I wanted to find a very good university. I found Georgetown University. I talked with the directors. I told them what I want to do. They told me, come here. We're gonna give you what you need. Do you want a petri dish? Do you want a crop? Do you want like food? We're gonna offer it. Our program director, Ivica Labuda, who I love, she was also uh, director of the biotechnology grad program, but also past experience with food, Kraft Heinz, Coca-Cola, and if I remember correctly, and other companies. So that felt like as a great match. So I leave everything in Greece, probably the toughest and the most important decision I have made in my life, because I didn't move here 18, I moved here 27 years old. I already had my life,
Hmm.
more than almost 3 decades living in one place. So, but it was worth it because this was not had nothing to do about me. It was, I want to do something that will have a positive outcome for my generation and all the future generations, to diverge positively in a new universe. That so, but still, very difficult decision. Goodbye to my parents, my friends, my dog, um, and all of my girlfriend at the time. Everyone is so hard, but I move with 2 suitcases. I'm going to Georgetown, and I start, and While I was studying, one class was bioinformatics. We were trying to predict with my teacher and by myself. I was trying to go if we can go from the genomic sequence to the organoleptic properties. So DNA, RNA, amino acids, protein, secondary structure, tertiary, and then you have the globes that they have a specific taste. But back then we couldn't predict the structure of the protein. AlphaFold is released by DeepMind and Hasabi and his team, and I was mind blown because I knew how complex that was. And back in the day, you needed a PhD or a few years to understand any protein, and you do crystallography, you do all these things, you do one by one, you had the sequencing, and then you'd see. And they managed to do with pretty decent accuracy, and I knew that this is going to improve. And this was my first, well, when I fall in love with AI, I was like, okay, this is not just to, and this is pre-ChatGPT era, by the way.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay, this is super promising. Previous ChatGPT 3.5, to be honest, the GPT-2 was there, but it wasn't at all as effective as it is right now. So Georgetown, bioinformatics, trying to understand how proteins taste. Back in the day, what do you know? We had all the genomic sequences. How do we create proteins that maybe have this great flavor? We had the problem with the structure. AlphaFold is released. I'm like, okay, we have AI. This is mind blowing. I think this is one of the most important inventions of the 21st century. The
Hmm.
AlphaFold and is going to help with so many areas, disease areas, and to understand how systems work, especially biological systems. So I started to focus a lot on AI. And AI, you need three main things. You need to have a great application for AI, you need three things: a lot of data, combinatorial data space, and a feedback mechanism. And food is such a great case for AI. You have all of these things. You have a lot of data, nutritional value, flavor, customer segments, like so much data. You have the combinatorial part because everything you add changes the total and change the probability, the combinations, what you're gonna add. And then you have feedback, multiple ways of giving feedback. Uh, and multiple feedbacks from so many angles. So it was like, okay, that's it. And because back in the day I was a food product developer and I was trying to develop these things, like this is so complex and we don't have the great tools. And one of the most important challenges that we have to solve, which is feeding 8, soon 10 billion people in a way that will not compromise future generations from feeding themselves. Probably a long answer to your question, but I want to give you the overview of why how I ended up in the DC.
No, no, this is great. I appreciate it, Panos. Did you always know that one day maybe you would start your own business and become an entrepreneur? Or was it just like, hey, you know what? I love this food. Maybe I'll go work for a manufacturer or someone who produces it and just be R&D in-house for them? Or did you always have that dream of having your own business?
Uh, I was thinking about it, but I never had the dream that I want to have my own company. And actually,
Hmm.
when I moved here, I want to go work for the industry. For me, the decision factor was how can I maximize the chances and the potential impact. And I explored a few companies. I saw how they work. Did a few internships. I did a few visits, and I realized that if I did myself, it's going to be the most effective and efficient way, at least to my opinion. So that's how I ended up starting my company, pretty much as not a necessity, as the most probable efficient and effective way to do what I want to do.
Hmm. So then Proxy Food was founded. I know you've been here for 3 years. When?
So, what I was telling you, the idea that I want to blend AI and food was in February of 22, March of 22. So I go and find one of my very close friends and business mentors from Greece, where bootstrap entrepreneur,
Hmm.
€1 million in revenue himself. He went in Greece. He went through the hard way, and I was telling him, look, I have this great idea. I want to combine AI to focus on the formulation. I know the problem. I know that's going to be helpful. I want someone that knows about AI. And he told me, well, you're so lucky because one of the best people I know in Greece and in Europe in AI is one of my childhood friends. And I'm like, that's amazing. Please make me, do an intro.
Hmm.
First guy was Dimitris. The second guy was Petros. I meet Petros. He was working for 15 years for AI for companies like Accenture for 13 years, 11 years or so. And then to a bank. And I'm talking to him, explaining what I want to do. Soon I realized that we cannot do what I want to do, so we had to make the program much more focused and all the data. But sometime later, like he understood the importance and the impact, and he joined, and he became my CTO and co-founder at the point. Still very early on. Now we are in September of 22, and my program director from Georgetown, she applies me to a competition called Bark Tank. Bark Tank is like Shark Tank, but for the Georgetown University community. It's a competition which is funded by the Leonsis family and Ted Leonsis, who is also a Georgetown Hoya and now an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And people can submit you to participate. So she submits me, she's telling me I submitted you for Barktan. I was like, okay, that's great. I check it out. I see Ted. I'm getting super thrilled. And we apply. We get to the finalists and we go there. And we win actually the first prize. This was the first check in November of 22, $30,000, non-dilutive as a gift, not like as an investment.
Hmm.
Um, and then I talked with Ted, who had a similar company doing that for drug discovery. He was involved in a company called Tempus AI. They use AI for now many sources. They started from cancer, and now they want to use AI and different data to optimize drug discovery and have optimized solutions for various patients. So he knew understood the field of AI. He understood the impact, and he told me um, at some point, do you want to make this a big company? And I told him, yes, of course. And we won the prize. And then I wanted, to thank Ted. And how do you thank someone that has so many things so accomplished? And I learned that Ted, he was from Greece, actually from Peloponnesus, from Yithio down to Mani, like the southern part of Greece. And I was like, okay, the only thing Ted cannot get is some part of my time and a piece of land from his originated country. So after thinking and thinking how should I thank him, was like, I found it. I'm gonna give him as a gift a painting of his hometown. I'm like, that's perfect. It's gonna be my personal time. It's gonna remind him of Greece. The problem was like I didn't know how to paint. So I had to learn how to paint. So I go on YouTube, I buy books, I go on Amazon, I actually start, and I didn't have much time. So it was November and I had the plan. Now it was already late November. The plan to deliver the painting January 1st as a New Year's Eve gift.
Hmm.
So I had to 1.5 months learn how to paint, got all the materials. I was traveling everywhere with my paintings because I was doing all that. Uh, um, Crazy story. With this painting traveled in so many cases. So I managed, and I sent it him as a gift, and then we connected, and then Ted, the ex like head of R&D CTO, I don't remember exact title of Mars, Richard Ware, who ended up becoming liking so much what we did. He ended up being also an investor. So Ted, after that, he joins the company as our co-founder, and of course he has a monumental network. Um, Dimitris was also part of the team, and that's how we started.
Wow. And all this with Statusar's, the growth with him and the other investors didn't happen until the early part of 2023, right? After
Yes.
the
So
painting, after you,
yeah, so look, 22, we I have the painting, we win the bark tank 20 January. I delayed the painting around January 6 or so of 23. I sent him, and then Ted he invited me to a game against Wizards, against Bucks with Antetokounmpo. We talk, I explained the idea. We've had a lot of back and forth, like
yeah.
many meetings, due diligence. He brought many people, many of his friends. So this, until he told us that, it took some time. So from the idea started in March, February of 22. We started shaping it over the summer. November was more robust. In 23, we're trying to make it identify a product market fit. What are we going to build? What team are we going to do? But we're working all this time. We had the pilots. We're collecting data and data with labs, partnerships, and a lot of data and infrastructural work throughout 22. So in 23, um, we get some amazing investors. Like we're very happy, we're pitching, and we're very successful in what we're doing. And this was from October 23 until February of 24. January of
Okay.
24 was the first fundraising. This was our seed round of $2.5 million. Um, Now we're closing our second round, by the way. And then we got the money. We had already the prototype, and the $2.5 million allowed us to build a team, build the platform, onboard the clients, onboard some of the biggest food and beverage companies, get their feedback, get more data, better infrastructure, and keep on moving and pushing and pushing and pushing.
When did it go live?
So, live. I don't know what live means.
Live meaning that because you said you were inputting data in 22 and then also 23 you were fundraising. So when were you able to say, okay, let's bring in, let's say the first customer, let's try it out and go. It's live now.
Yeah, we were engaging with clients from by 23. They started using the platform in 24, like
Okay.
themselves and
Okay.
stuff. So we had already a prototype, a small MVP, even
Hmm.
by the end of 22. But throughout the whole 1 year, we're engaging with clients, building it. So live in the sense that other companies and users using that was in late 23 and early 24.
How easy or difficult was it, Panos, getting those first customer, that first few ones to come in?
Well, it depends on the customer, right? The big CPGs, it's more of a sophisticated enterprise licensing. This will take maybe 1 year of discussion, maybe 8 months, maybe 1.5 years, and they have to see and you have to engage, and then
Takes
you have
time.
all the legal, the IT, like everything is like it's like a very complicated wedding. That
Hmm.
all the families they have to meet each other, and everybody like has to like everyone, every had, but everything has to go smoothly. Smaller clients and startups, we have the sales cycles much shorter of weeks. But that's why it depends on the industry, the size of the client, the nature, how disruptive is a company. We see larger giants that are more cumbersome in innovation, and they prefer to acquire the success stories than to innovate themselves. We see other companies even larger that are more innovative and they want to be on the edge, and they may push things a little bit faster, like adopting AI or technologies like ours. So it can go from we have made deals like in one phone call that was like we're ready to go.
Yeah.
The not the standard case, and deals that we're talking for all this time.
Yeah. And it's still work in progress.
Of course, like and the platform is always going to be improved. September we're gonna have the new version of it, a very big release. We're very proud of it. I think it will contain stuff that has not happened before in humanity. Will offer things that were never plausible. All this. time ago. Um, we're gonna keep adding data, better UI, better UX, understand better the needs of our customers, where we should focus. But it's gonna be an ongoing process. The formulation, it's never ending. Even for a food, you can always optimize. We understand better how ingredients interact, the effect on ourselves, and other information. So it also goes tied with what we understand from the medical health side. So it's always going to be a work in progress, and we're very fine with
Mhm.
that. We love what we're building. We're addicted to what we do, and because of the importance. Um, long story short, it's always going to be a work in progress.
Would you say right now your customer base is it mostly, let's say, younger startup companies, I don't know, under 5, 10 million in revenue, or more larger organizations?
Both.
Both.
Uh,
Okay.
both revenue wise more from the very big companies because they
Hmm.
can afford. Number wise, we have more of a smaller companies and anything in between.
What would you say drives and motivates you today?
What drives me and motivates me I I don't think as my life is I could, in my opinion again, how my life was set up and how I ended up here, I could do anything more important and impactful than what I'm doing right now. I don't think there are any other um, stuff that I would be doing that would be more helpful. And maybe, there are things, of course, that I could have done differently, but how I am right now, I think that this potentially is going to have the largest positive impact in our planet. And considering that, seeing that we change product, we understand better that, we are part of feeding the population and think that this can put the good infrastructure for future generations to adequately feed seems as a great way to work. For me, it's the game theory that I'm always looking at. How do you maximize the outcome from all the stakeholders in a game? And this simulation or no, reality or no, whatever it is, we have a framework with, you can name it a game. We have our own rules. We have their own things. You lose, you win. You have scarcity, you have limitations. So it motivates me that what I'm doing can maximize the benefits for all stakeholders, not even now, but for future.
We were just talking earlier, Panos, about the different customer profiles that you have. From a marketing standpoint, what would you say drives the most traffic?
Marketing side, look, the big companies, the big CPGs, they now experiencing a little bit of FOMO, and they have their innovation and they have the research and they have the executives that will say, guys, we need to use AI, we need to use AI.
Hmm.
And but not everybody understand what that means. And we use AI, it can be where, how, what that means for us, for our operations. So you have pretty much in the big companies a flow of top to bottom of the information that we need to find competitive technologies that will give us a competitive advantage, including AI. So these big companies, they either collaborate with agencies or themselves, they have innovation centers and they go and they find. So must being active, and me personally also on LinkedIn, people will see stuff that they post and they will reach out. For the smaller companies, you have to be a little bit more of like word of mouth, networking, or connections. Why? Because the startups, including ourselves, we need to survive, and you have to be very, very focused on what you do. You cannot explore ideas. Even if something makes sense to use it now, it's very hard to stop what you're doing to adopt these technologies. So for that, not many companies may check on the marketing. However, some of them somehow they see maybe newspaper, new posts, and they like it and they connect with us. And then the marketing, this, as we mentioned earlier, the sales cycle is much shorter. You may have first call, a call with the head of R&D, the CEO, the COO, and their cousins, everyone all together. They take a decision like at the same time, and you move forward. Um, so the marketing is critical to be there to allow for the very big guys to scout you. And this is going to be much easier than to reach out to their big doors. And that's, I think, should be the approach. And a little bit more active outbound through network from the smaller companies that you can connect directly.
So for the bigger companies, you said that they're finding you sometimes they see something on LinkedIn. So you're either connected with them or maybe second or third down, and then they happen to see some of your posts on social media on LinkedIn.
Yes, our press release also helped, and you have I think for our industry, the food and beverage industry, and the CPGs and the manufacturers, LinkedIn and Google and
Hmm.
papers are the main source of information, and conferences and the word of mouth. Food service, you have other distribution networks. Instagram also plays a role there. Um, so for the big guys, you need to connect either with the people to be connected with the people that can affect the decision or transfer the information that they can reach out to. Or if you know people with from the industry is also very standard that maybe you work in a big company and people are changing. So maybe the a colleague of yours now is a big company. You say, hey, I'm doing that. Do you think it's of any interest to you? Check what we're doing, and you can take it like that.
You mentioned after you, one of the main hires was your CTO, yeah, CTO from Greece. I'm sure your team looks very different now than what it did a couple years ago when you started. How do you go about finding the right people? It's interesting because I was just reading an article how recently Zuckerberg Meta is trying to recruit all these AI people, engineers from even from OpenAI, and the packages that they're giving them are just crazy, astronomical. So for you, being an AI company in the food industry, how do you go about finding the right people to place in the right positions in your company?
So, finding the right people is probably the most important job of mine. Finding the right investors and finding the right people for the team. Um, Hands down, probably the most important job I have. How do you do it? There is no like, you go on LinkedIn and you find. I think for that, it's about being relentless and being s- planting as many seeds as possible everywhere, and you don't know what will happen. And of course, you have to be part of a network that will have higher chances of finding someone that will be a good candidate of your company. Now, we don't have like Meta, these huge packages to offer, but as an early startup, you can offer like better shares and stocks compensation, which we can balance like these packages. Um, and then you have to convince them, and then you have to find the right people that will want to do the right thing. And I think this is an analogy. You want investors to reaching out to you, and you want you to reaching out to the people that they want to go to your team. You don't want to reach out to investors, and you don't want employees to reach out to you. Well, of course, this will happen, but as a rule, I think it's much better this filtering. Um, Now you find someone. How you have three main parts, right? How do you find someone? How do you validate if it's a good match?
Hmm.
And how do you onboard them? How do you convince them and onboard them? So we don't have resources as Meta, so we have to be very careful with the people. We're like very careful with the people that you bring on board. And it's critical for a startup because if you bring good people will attract better good people. And you say, oh, well, so this guy and this guy and this guy.
Hmm.
Otherwise, you can create more of a resistance. So almost every next hiring you do is a little bit for a new team is a little bit less important with all the caveats now than the previous one. Why? Because you want to create this domino effect, and then you create such a great team that this great person wants to join because it's such a great team, and you do amazing stuff and amazing technologies. These rock stars, these super engineers, they don't. Most of them just don't do it, for money. They want to have um, actual meaningful output from what they do. They're very proud of what they do, and you have to give them an environment that will allow them to innovate, to run fast, and to create. So there's no magic solution. You have to be at the build the right network, the right people, but all that are like increasing the chances. Good people to attract good people, um, and then the right motives. And I think it's much better. Again, it depends, but as an idea, I think it's better at the moment to have a lean commando team, super team, than to get multiple not as great rock stars.
Hmm.
So if you find the first rockstar, and you have great technology and very serious about what you do, you don't have a superficial solution. You're not, let's say, just a GPT wrapper, or you just have an API and you have like a nice packaging. If you know what you do, when you explain to people what you're doing and the depth of the technology, they get excited. So plant as many seeds as possible, plant them in the right places. So be careful, be conscious with your time and who you're spending time with. Build great technology that will attract many people, and even languages. Don't use a language that nobody uses at the moment. We saw Python, how popular it became now with AI. We've seen front end different languages like React becoming, and yours, TypeScript and Node, Java, whatever that is. But use languages that in your field will attract the right people, and then great talent that will make the conversion to onboard them easier.
That's great. Panos, you've had great success in only 3 short years. If someone's listening to this and maybe they wanted to start their own company, it might not be in the food and beverage industry, maybe totally different field. What advice would you give them?
I think the advice I would give is spend enough time to understand your what and your why. What are you going to do and why? And then you will find all the hows, because it's difficult. It's extremely difficult, and you have to have a very, very high pain threshold. And as the CEO of the company, you have all the filter, the distillation of the bad things that will end up to you, and all the real bad stuff. And, even not company related, family, like losses, you will be informed and you have to deal with them. So you have a brutal, um, life, brutal and like schedule. You
Hmm.
wake up, you don't sleep enough, you never have enough time to do everything you want or to see people. So too many sacrifices. But if your why and what are such strong that you wouldn't change it for nothing else, it makes much easier to keep on pushing. So if you don't have that, I'm not saying not start a company, but it's gonna be much helpful when the times are difficult and you have to keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. So do your homework. Think of something that will be very meaningful in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. For me, I always prefer these ideas. Find something that you can conquer now and will grow. Don't try to attack huge industry. It's very hard to go and take a big pie, share of a big pie and market size. It's much better take a small pie, own it, and grow it. So think what will be the most important thing you should do in 5 or 10 years from now. What will affect you, your children, your parents, your dog, everyone, and you can help. And when you find that, then everything else will just follow up.
That's great advice. What is your biggest challenge with your role at Proxy Foods today?
My biggest challenge. Um, I'm struggling to how to say which one is the biggest. I can give you like a list of so many challenges, but for me personally, my biggest challenge was moving outside of Greece, leaving all of my friends, my parents, not spending time with the people I love, and keep on sacrificing all the time things that I want to do for this company. And of course, like I love it, but probably this is the biggest challenge that you have to take difficult decisions, family related, like personal related, and you have to be very consistent and loyal with what you decide to do. So probably this is the biggest challenge: not spending time with the people that you love as much as you would like to, or not being there in some special occasions.
So almost putting the business first before anything or anyone.
Pretty much, yeah, like you, and to be realistic, you work 80 to 100 hours per week. Of course, you're gonna spend some time to see your mom, to see your
Oh, yes,
friends,
of
but
course,
this
of
is such
course.
a shorter time. So yes, putting the
Yeah,
business
compared to how much time you really want to spend with the family and friends, right?
exactly,
Yes, yes.
exactly as you said, actually, yeah, putting the business before anything and everyone else in your life.
Yeah. Coming to an end here soon, Panos. What do you know now that you wish you would have known at the start of your career?
So many things. uh, I wish to better knew. I don't know the things I don't know. To better know that I don't know many things. Because
Okay.
otherwise, there's so many things I wish to know that the only great way to group them are like this. And yes, like I think that.
Okay. Do you think you have any habits or traits that help you, whether for in business or even outside of business, personally in your own personal life?
Yes, let me show you. Actually, I have one here. Think something that is helping me a lot is that thing.
Ah, a
Uh,
notepad.
yes, with a pen, very traditional.
Old
Uh,
school.
Old school. I have all this, AI technology. We have all these but apps to do that, but I still write down the most important things that I have. I will want to see them. I scratch down. Whenever I have an idea, I write it down. I think our brains saves information in a different way when you write it. And for me, the physical thing, having it there, is helping me. And something I'm doing, sometimes I go by myself for a walk, no phone, nothing, only that. Sometimes not even that. And I have a specific problem on my mind, and I'm trying to design the problem and engineer the solution without keeping notes or anything, zero distractions, just walking, sometimes faster, sometimes very slow. I think that there is some research that activates the part of the brain. It helps me at least not to sit all the time. And when I come back, I spend 15 minutes write down everything if I don't have and see the solution. So it helped me a lot. Now we have Miro, not meant like Lucid, like Figma, all these technologies to write down. But the thing that takes a little bit away from our creativity, how do you, and your memory, how do you visualize something without seeing it? How do you imagine a system, how it works only with your mind? And this is a mental exercise that I was doing for many months, and now I think I have improved it. And I think this is a great way. Why? Because you improve the way you solve issues, you improve your memory, you have like n dimensions that you can work on your mind. You're not sitting on your desk all the time. You can go to the beautiful DC, to the monuments, and walk around while you're doing actual work. You go, you write down, you deliver, you ship the whatever you have to do, and you move forward. So I know everyone gives like these tips. I'm gonna give two very classic tips: this and long walks.
I love that. I love that because it speaks to me personally, Panos, because sometimes when I have ideas, I go to my phone though. I go to my notes app on my phone and I write it, or I was like, oh shoot, I forgot something. And then I put it in my calendar on my phone to remind me, set a reminder. But there is power. It's so true as far as writing it down in a piece of paper with pen or pencil and then having it there instead of just typing it in on your notes app or whatever technology you're using to remind yourself of that.
Exactly. And remember, when was the last time you remember typing something? It's much less strong than the memory writing something. Like even if you may type something for me, because I also have this calendar, because sometimes I don't have this, and it's an important note to keep. I go and I write the same note I written before, which I almost never do with a physical thing, because I remember I had written it. With the phone, I made it so mechanically and fast. And did I write that? And I'm going, open it. Oh, I had written it. Which and you and me specifically, that we are a little bit older and we went to school with pen and pencil and
Hmm.
paper.
Hmm.
We didn't have the laptop, so our brain was wired to store information in a better way. So, it's a personal tip. I don't know if it works for everyone, but I think it's a good way to write things down, your thoughts and stuff.
And with your walks, because I also enjoy doing walks, but typically on my walks, that's when I try to catch up on. If I'm alone, I typically have them with my children, but if I'm alone, it's when I try to catch up on podcasts and I put my earbuds and I walk. But I haven't done a walk, I can't remember, just without my phone, without listening to anything, just me alone and my dog. Typically, I'm with my dog or my children, but just me alone. Do you do these walks alone without any technology when you just have something in your mind you're trying to solve, or you just do it in general, even when you don't have something that you want to solve?
I usually have a specific case, otherwise you can get a little bit distracted. I have a specific, I'm gonna go for a walk 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours until.
Oh, wow, very long walks.
Yes, if I have a specific, one-sided doors that if you cross this door, you can go back, and I want I will give it adequate time, and I isolate everything. I leave my phone, and I will do that, and I'll focus. And I think we are in the technology era that we have maximized the input of information and we restrict the output. And the podcasts are great. I also listen to podcasts, but you need a little bit of an audiobooks. I need a bit of more balance of, do you process information, how much you create, and the creation part, you find things and you may get some ideas. It's only you at this point in life, that only you at this point have figured it out, which is amazing. So, both the input from the podcast, but for the output, I would suggest you to try when you have like a challenge to solve, or
Sure,
something, or a
sure.
strategy, or something. But you have a framework,
Hmm.
and this is also almost like a meditation, because if you focus on that, any other thought, you can remove it. If you just go and think all of your things, you can just think everything. You just walking and thinking. What I'm saying is specific. You any other thoughts? No. This 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever it is dedicated to that. Everything else now is distraction. Remove the distractions. Go back home, write that, fix the problem, go back to all the other cases and issues.
And then when you come back, I'm sure you have something, and then you just write it down. And okay,
Yes. Write down everything, pop, 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 and you have it stored in your brain. At least what I do, like almost like pages and areas. You write everything down, and I love it. I don't know.
okay.
It works
No,
for
that's
me.
great. I love it too. That's why that's okay. I love it. Great advice. I love those too. So, what does the future look like for you in Proxy Food? What are you most excited for the next couple of years?
The next couple of years, I'm really excited about the new platform we're going to release, the new version of the platform that we are releasing, and I'm very excited that we're going to better understand what the food is made of and what it is effect. And I'm really looking forward to go find the next new cheesecake, like that's
Hmm.
gonna be healthy and like super good. And I really want to see what when we're gonna go the personalized nutrition. You're gonna be eating things that are speaking to your brain and you love them, and they're also super healthy. And I'm really looking forward to minimize the compromises that we're now dealing with food, from the supply chain, from the nutritional value, from the health, from the cost. Now, it feels like a compromise of everything. Oh, it's healthy, but it's not tasting good. Oh, it's healthy, tastes good, but it's super expensive. Oh, it's healthy, but you can find it always there. Oh, it's that, but you destroy something. So I think the thing that excites me the most is what's going to be the foods that we don't know, because we don't know, we haven't understood yet. What's going to be the new flavors that are super amazing? What's going to be the new healthy food, what's gonna be the new way of being producing food, feeding our planets in a more gentle for the Earth planet, more gentle for the humans, and explore all the flavor. I think we're still scratching the surface, so I'm very, very excited to see where this will go.
It's amazing. I know you work hard, Panos, but when you're not busy working, what do you like to do for fun in your free time?
Uh, I used to do stuff. I used to play soccer. I used to play tennis. Now, sometimes I play billiards from time to time.
Okay.
I play tennis from time to time. I swim.
Okay.
I swim to not to like if I get the opportunity to go to the sea, I'm definitely going to swim to jump in. I like dinners, great dinners and exploring food, which is almost like part of product development and R&D exploration for me. Uh, Spending time in nature, running, uh, working out. I used to do puzzles, no time anymore. Sometimes I watch some TV shows, or I watch Black Mirror now, the new season. So I do various things, but nothing too much to be honest. I don't have like any hobbies to tell you. Like every Tuesday and Wednesday, I'm doing that. Like along the things that I mentioned, I go with my motorcycle sometimes for rides. This kind of stuff, and anything, very very very
Yeah.
pluralistic way.
Speaking about the Black Mirror, the show, I was just recently having a conversation with my wife last night about we need to find a new show that we can both see together. Any recommendations?
Any recommendation of TV
Is
shows?
Black Mirror good? I haven't seen it yet. I saw the trailer, I believe, but I haven't seen it.
Yes, there is like let's see the. I really like Black Mirror. Not all of the episodes, but there are most episodes. There are, I definitely recommend Black Mirror.
Okay.
Some of the episodes I think are very potentially realistic of what will happen. Is a very great way to show some parts of technology can end up to dystopian futures or dystopian angles of a future.
Mm.
Black Mirror, by the way, for people is this is the Black Mirror, the from the screens, the mirror you
Oh,
see.
okay.
Just as an insight, there is this episode that I loved from the new season. Let me see what's his name. Give me a second. I'll be fast.
It's okay.
Uh, okay, I found it. Plaything.
Plaything?
Yes.
Okay. And it's the new season? Season, what is it? Season two or three or
Seven, I think. But
okay,
all the
seven. Okay.
the episodes are independent of each other, so you can start from season seven, go up, go all the way down. They don't
Okay.
have any connection, or I haven't realized any connection. So I think Black Mirror is a good series, and Silicon Valley is very fun.
Oh
Have
yeah,
you watched
we
it?
love that show. That's a funny show.
Yeah, that's why if you want to be, the very very different shows, but
It is, but I love it. It's sad that they didn't continue it, but I liked it.
yeah, it's very sad, but Silicon Valley and Black Mirror, two TV shows that I would suggest just out of my mind now.
That's great. Panos, thank you so much for joining me today. If people want to learn more about you and what you're creating at Proxy Foods, where can they go to find more information, please?
LinkedIn and my email, but LinkedIn I think is the best way to reach out to me, and in our website company, proxyfoods.ai. Panos Kostopoulos, you can find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, and we would love to hear from you and answer any questions if possible, and try to help with anything you're building. And Otto, it was an honor and pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure was all mine, my friend. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.